Hey mom and dad, just want to share some advice from a book that's really incredible. You should get your hands on it. I'm going to talk about it in a second, but it talks about many of the dangers of what can happen when we don't confiscate our children's phones at night. Should your teens be keeping their phones and their devices in their rooms all night long when they should be sleeping? I want to look at some of the dangers here. And one of the biggest problems that kids are struggling with is that during the night, there is a large open window to pornography, watching things they shouldn't be watching, the potential of connecting with sexual predators online, too much texting, and interrupted sleep as well. This can lead to sleep deprivation syndrome. It can lead to emotional and mental issues that are really serious. And it's something that we're not talking about as parents, and so we have to. But I'm going to give you 3 practical things that you can do starting today to help give your kids and your teens a better shot at success, especially at school. And for many of us, we're starting up at school again, or it's on or it's off, or whatever is happening today. But here's the reality. Our young people, they do not have the self-control needed to be given 24/7 management of their phones and of devices. Okay? I know a lot of people are just like, well, I don't want to get into their business, or I don't want to, impede in their privacy or whatever. Well, listen, if you're not going to get involved and impede on their privacy, then guess who is? Psychopaths, okay? And content that they shouldn't be watching as well. The other issue is that we were never handed like the proven parental manual on how to parent in the digital age. And so the question is, how do we do these things? What should we be doing? Well, I want to challenge you today that one thing that we need to address and need to take action on immediately is making sure that we confiscate, that we take all the devices out of our kids' rooms and off of them when they sleep at night. So what are some of the guidelines and what are some of the things that we can do? Well, here's what we need to do. We need to create a bedtime. Really, I'm going to give you 2 things here when it comes to bedtime for both the weekdays and the weekends, times that we can take these devices from them. Okay, so the first part is the bedtime itself. Like, okay, well, if you're going to be going to sleep, let's just say at 11. I know it's kind of summer, and even during the school years, things can change a bit, but let's say you were to say, okay, you're going to go to sleep at 10:30 or something, then the time before that is really, and we call it soul time in our family, and I'll just describe why. An hour before that is really when you should be taking the devices, okay? So if this is 10:30 or 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. for, your younger kids or whatever, an hour before that, okay? Stop losing your mind. I know you're freaking out right now. But an hour, and this is what professionals are suggesting. We were doing 30 minutes, even though I had read it really is 60 minutes. It really should be 60 minutes. But then our family changed, actually, in the last few months, and now we've buckled down and said, look, 60 minutes before bedtime, I need to take the devices from you, okay? Now, the benefits of this is that kids really need sleep, especially our teenagers, more than anyone else. If they can get 9 hours, 10 hours of sleep, they really need it. They're developing, their brains are developing, and it really helps them. It helps them in school, it helps them with their mental health, it helps them eat better, play better, it helps their grades. So we want to make sure that they're getting better sleep at night, and I'm talking about uninterrupted and deep sleep, okay? Okay, so here are the 3 dangers and what you can do about it, okay? So one of the big ones is texting and notifications. You guys know about FOMO, right? Or the fear of missing out. Well, young people, and this is mom and dad, what you and I didn't deal with. We already had craziness as teenagers in just normal life, in our school life. Now our kids have a second life. Those that have social media, etc. as well, where they have another life that they're trying to manage and people are talking about them, and there's group texts as well that acts as a whole nother world. I mean, like when we were leaving school or we left the soccer field or the dance class, we kind of left a lot of that and all the drama behind. Well, it follows our kids home. And these texts and these notifications keeps them, is someone saying something about me, or did I miss out on a cool thing? Here's a challenge that I want you to do just on the side. Take your kid's phone, okay, tonight, or maybe however many kids you have, and you can even put it on vibrate. Take it like an hour before bed and just put it next to you while you sleep at night, or try to sleep. And just listen and see how much activity is coming through that device. It will blow your mind. And you're going to think, how the heck can they even live life and focus on anything which is a great question. Well, here's the reality. You need to be able to remove the devices at night so that there is no temptation and no way that these notifications and texts can interrupt your child's sleep, okay? So that is going to be obviously the solution, and that's what I challenge you to do, is to find out not just the bedtime and to work that out with your kids, but when are you going to take this device so that they can begin to wind down and have better sleep at night. The reality is that that hour before bedtime, if we're watching screens, the blue light from the screens acts as sunlight. It's registered as sunlight in our brains. And this is, mom and dad, for you as well. In fact, these are blue lights that I'm wearing right now. These are blue light blocker glasses. They're not reading glasses for me, because to get down on the strain as well as to be able to not have it mess with the melatonin release that should be happening before you go to sleep. We're naturally wired so that as the sun goes down, melatonin begins to get released in our bodies to tell us that it's time to go to sleep. And it gives us a great sleep at night. Well, the screens that we're looking at, phones, laptops, we're streaming, we're watching stuff, it is telling our brains, it's daytime, stay awake, let's party. So when your kids need it the most, the exact opposite is happening in their brains. And that's why they're struggling to go to sleep. In fact, I want to read this to you real quick. And again, it's from this book, The Teenage Brain. What happens when teenagers don't get enough sleep? Nothing good, that's for sure. Sleep deprivation inhibits the necessary synaptic pruning or prioritizing of information, okay? That's bad for them, it's bad for school, it's bad for grades. A lack of good sleep habits results in much more than a tired body and mind. It can have profound and lasting effects, especially on teenagers, and can contribute to everything from juvenile delinquency to depression, obesity, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular disease. Studies have shown that teenagers who report sleep disturbances have more often consumed soft drinks, fried foods, sweets, and caffeine, not to mention all these monster drinks and energy drinks and all that. They also report less physical activity, more time in front of TV and computers. Another study found that teenagers who had trouble sleeping at ages 12 to 14 were 2.5 times more likely to report suicidal thoughts at ages 15 to 17 than adolescents with good sleep habits. Japanese researchers have found that teens who used their cell phones after lights out not only had reduced time asleep, but also were at increased risk of mental health disorders, including self-harm and suicide. Great read, great practical book as well. Love this book. You can get your hands on it. At night, number 2, this is a second danger. A flood of horrible content can get into our kids' minds, as well as social media stuff, sexting, nude images, bad things that shouldn't be going on. And this is when sexual predators online are connecting with our young people. And I just want to say this, as a general rule, if you don't have filters, parental controls, if these kids have access, especially in private, to see this kind of filth or to have filthy people connecting with them, then you cannot assume that it's not happening. You have to assume the opposite, that it is. Now, that might be very difficult for some of you as parents, and I challenge myself with this as well. Listen to me. It does not matter what kind of family they come from. I don't care how religious or good or loving or involved. Like, it does not matter. If you think your kids will not look at this stuff, or they're good kids or whatever, listen, they're curious. Their bodies are changing. Their testosterone, especially for boys between 11 and 14, is 1,000 times what it has been before. I mean, they're just curious. And they're going to do it. And they're going to see it. And so if we are not protecting them, then we have to assume that it's happening. So activate the filters, activate the parental controls, and activate what we're talking about today of having to confiscate their devices at night, okay? And then lastly, I know this is a heavy one. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little gnarly on you, but checking phones as first thing in the morning is a bad habit. Okay, so if you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this, Dean, well then what about in the morning? When do they get their devices back? Okay, well I'm just going to make a couple suggestions. You can work this out and talk to your spouse about it. But one good way to do it is to say, hey, you cannot then re-get your phones or your devices. And I'm talking about everything. Laptops, iPads, and phones, they all come in. And they're in a safe place or private place in mom and dad's room, or some of you might have to lock it up. Who knows? You cannot get it back until after breakfast, Or maybe you set a time like 9 a.m. or something. Whichever one comes second, okay? Some of these teens, or especially during the weekends or whatever, they'll sleep till 10 or whatever. When they wake up, it's after 9. No, you have to eat breakfast. You need time to connect, to journal, to have some quiet time, to think deep thoughts, to connect with humans before you get inundated with all the cool stuff and the life things and news and all the noise of the world. And then, of course, that might bleed into school. Maybe they can't take them. Maybe they can't use them. And that's a whole other video that we're going to have to talk about, okay? Sorry, this is going a bit long. I want you today, as the challenge for you, to watch this video with your spouse or with a friend. And I want you to ask yourself these questions. Is this something that I need to do? How can I go about doing it? What would be our guidelines? And I want you to have a family meeting and start making those changes today. If you need more help, if you're a bit overwhelmed, I want you to check out my free webinar at familytechgameplan.com. I go through a lot of these details as well as a lot of other stuff and give you the 4 secrets to help your kids navigate through all of these dangers. It's all there, as well as an invitation to join our online course, which helps walk you and your kids through these difficult issues together. Because you might be thinking, how am I ever going to get my kids or my family on board with this? I get it. That's why I've created the course to help you out, okay? All right, check out familytechgameplan.com if you have not seen yet that free webinar. And I want you to ask questions or put comments below, tagging friends who you know need to watch this video. We're in this together, parents. We've got to work together in the trenches. I believe in you. You can do it. Talk to you soon.